I am a married woman and my husband's name is Adam. I never imagined that one night could change everything. That one mistake, one moment of weakness, could redefine the way I saw myself, my marriage, and the people I thought I could trust. The garage that night became more than just a place to store tools and old memories. It became the place where my life split into two versions of itself. Before and after. It started as an ordinary evening. My husband Adam had invited some friends over for a small get-together. Nothing too extravagant, just a simple night of drinks, grilled food, and conversation. Among the guests was Jack, his best friend since childhood. Jack had always been a presence in our lives. He was the best man at our wedding, the godfather to our son, and a constant figure in our social circle. I had known him for years, but I had never really looked at him. Not in that way. The night began with laughter and easy conversation. The air was warm, the backyard lights casting a soft glow over our guests as they clinked glasses and exchanged stories. Adam was relaxed, sipping his beer, completely at ease in the company of his friends. I moved through the crowd, making sure everyone had what they needed, playing the role of the perfect hostess. But as the evening wore on, I started to notice something I had never paid attention to before. The way Jack looked at me. It wasn't just a casual glance or a friendly acknowledgement. It was different, longer, more intense, like he was studying me, waiting for me to notice. And I did. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. Jack had always been charming, always had a way of making people feel comfortable. But this was something else. This was dangerous. As the hours passed, the guests began to leave one by one. Adam, feeling the effects of too many drinks, excused himself to go inside and rest. I stayed outside, cleaning up the scattered plates and empty bottles, enjoying the quiet that followed the chaos of the party. That's when I realized Jack was still there. "You shouldn't have to clean up all this alone," he said, stepping beside me. I smiled, trying to ignore the way my heart skipped a beat. "I don't mind. It helps me unwind." He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he reached for a beer bottle and tossed it into the trash bag I was holding. His fingers brushed against mine. Just for a second, just long enough to make me aware of how close we were standing. Something passed between us in that moment. A silent acknowledgement of something neither of us wanted to say out loud. "I should get more trash bags from the garage," I said, needing an excuse to put distance between us. He nodded, but he didn't move away. I walked toward the garage, my hands trembling slightly as I reached for the door handle. I told myself it was nothing, that I was just overthinking, that I would grab the bags and go back inside, and this strange moment would be forgotten by morning. But the moment I stepped inside, I heard the door shut behind me. I turned around, my breath catching in my throat. Jack stood there, leaning against the closed door, his eyes unreadable in the dim light of the garage. "Jack," I started, forcing a nervous laugh. "What are you doing?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a slow step forward, closing the space between us. "I think we both know what's happening here," he said, his voice low. I swallowed hard, shaking my head. "Nothing is happening. This is just..." He took another step, his hand reaching out, brushing lightly against my arm. The touch was gentle, barely there, but it sent a jolt of something through me. Something I didn't want to name. "Tell me to leave," he murmured. "And I will." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I should have told him to leave. I should have turned around and walked out of that garage, back into my house, back to my husband, back to the life I had built with so much effort. But I didn't move. I felt his fingers trail down my arm, stopping at my wrist. My pulse was racing, my mind spinning. This wasn't me. I wasn't this kind of woman. I loved Adam. I loved my family. And yet, I didn't stop him when he leaned in. His lips brushed against mine, hesitant at first, as if waiting for me to pull away. But I didn't. I let it happen. For one fleeting moment, I let myself drown in it. The heat, the rush, the thrill of something forbidden. His hands settled on my waist, pulling me closer, and for a brief second, I let go of every reason why this was wrong. But then reality crashed over me like a wave. I pushed him away, my breathing ragged, my heart pounding. "No," I whispered, shaking my head. "This can't happen." His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. "I know," he said, his voice rough. I turned away from him, pressing my hands against my face. What had I done? Even though we had stopped before it went too far, I knew something irreversible had happened. I couldn't look at him as I spoke again. "We need to forget this." "It never happened." Silence stretched between us. Then finally he said, "If that's what you want." I nodded, more to convince myself than him. I walked out of the garage, my legs shaking beneath me, my thoughts in complete chaos. When I stepped back into the house, Adam was still asleep on the couch, completely unaware of what had just transpired. I stood there for a long moment, watching him, guilt tightening around my chest like a vice. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. I replayed the moment over and over, trying to convince myself that I had stopped it before it was too late. But deep down I knew the truth. The damage had already been done. What happened in the garage that night was something I could never take back. It was a moment that would stay with me forever, a secret that would haunt me every time I looked at my husband. And no matter how much I tried to move on, no matter how hard I tried to convince myself that I was still the same person I had always been, I knew one thing for certain. I would never ever forget. Like this video if you believe in the power of choices. Comment your thoughts. What would you have done? Share this story to start a conversation. Subscribe for more real-life stories that will leave you thinking. New videos every week. Stay tuned.